I am.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to tell you guys, it's a little different not being in the room with, nearly 20,000 people that have all traveled from, all over the country to be there. But this is, you will think about Keller Williams differently after having attended a program like this. Not to mention all the connections that you have the potential to make, not to mention all that you'll learn. You'll just view this company a lot differently. And I believe clearly it's going to be in a positive light. So if you have not considered making the investment, I think it's $119 or $129. Guys, this is a smart move. Okay, we got to invest in ourselves every once in a while. I think this is a great way to do it. Okay. Okay, anyone want to share some news from the weekend? Let's start off with that. Fabiola, you got a buyer listing signed?
No. Sorry, I'm driving to the oil change right now, but I met with a buyer that I met from my first open house. I've been kind of following up with him, and we went to go see a condo. He liked it, and then he's like, okay, well, him and his wife got to think about it. That's fine, I understand. He didn't want to sign the buyer brokerage agreement. He was hesitant, and I'm like, okay, I just kind of let that be and let him know if he wanted to pursue the contract, we would need to sign one. And he said he understood, he got that. And talked to him last night, and he said that he needs to kind of check the market out and do some more analysis. He's total like data-driven guy. I did give him the numbers, and he's like, he understood. They moved from New Jersey like recently, and they had a townhouse there. So I think they're just kind of a little hesitant right now. But he said like the next 2 to 3 months. So I'm just going to nurture that and put him on, like that email that you get the houses for.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to plan on doing.
Okay, cool. Let me make a couple of comments on what you just said.
Sure.
So technically he doesn't have to, or she doesn't have to sign a brokerage agreement. So it is possible that you represent the person as a customer, right?
Yes.
There is a separate form for that, right? And this is really important for everyone to very, very clearly understand, okay, is there are certain things that we are allowed to do for our customers. And by the way, everyone is a customer until they sign a buyer's brokerage agreement, then they become a client, okay? When you are a client, or when you have a client, let me describe it the other way. When you have a customer, you are only supposed to do ministerial tasks for that customer. Okay, ministerial task, the way I was taught about what a ministerial task is it is essentially something that you can do with your hands and your feet, meaning not your brain. Okay, hands and feet would be things like, this home is in this school district. The taxes for this property are, the square footage according to the tax records is, the HOA fees for this community are, right? This home has 4 bedrooms and was built in 1985, right? It is essentially stuff they could figure out for themselves. Okay, it is virtually all public information. As soon as the consumer wants your advice, right? They want to talk about pricing strategies or negotiation or evaluating comparables, or they want your opinion or anything like that, they should have the client, they should become a client, which means they need the buyer's brokerage agreement signed. Now, with that said, virtually everybody screws that up, okay, and fudges on, they pretend like it's a client when they haven't signed the client agreement. Okay, so let's just use Fabiola as an example. Let's say this guy does not want to be represented as a client. More than likely, just by the way, they just don't understand what it is, right? But assuming they don't want to be represented as a client, they can be represented as a customer. And when that takes place, there's a document called I think it's called the Customer Acknowledgement Agreement, unless it's been retitled recently. Customer Acknowledgement Agreement. And basically when they say, well, what do you think? That's a good clue to say, what would you like me to put in this line? Well, I don't understand the line. okay, you need to sign this so you can be my client, right? So, and by the way, you would still get compensated the same amount, and the buyers, no terms are going to be different for the buyers. So there's really no incentive for them not to be a client. Now, with that said, and Melba would probably disagree with me on this, okay? With that said, I don't think there's any reason to like push unnecessarily for that document to be signed. Candace, I'm going to get your take in just a second, okay? If, for example, let's say Candace is my prospect and she is not ready to sign the agreement for whatever reason, and I am pushing, right? I'm like, well, if you want to see homes, then I need this signed, or hey, if you want to write an offer, you need this signed, or hey, what about that sheet I gave you the other day? I need it signed, need it signed, need it signed. And that pushes them away. Well, you're not going to get the buyer anyway, right? And if by chance they sign it and then they change their mind, then they can terminate it at any time with no penalty. So in some ways it seems symbolic, although it does have a place in license law, it feels symbolic, okay? Now, when I say that, even if they sign it and then they ghost you, right? You can't get a hold of them, you can't set another appointment, they just seem to be lost. You're too busy to chase people down in court for that kind of stuff, okay? So if they sign it under duress and then they just stop talking to you and stop taking your calls, you ain't gonna get paid anyway, right? So I always took a little bit more of a casual approach to the document, which was, according to license law, you can blame everything on license law, okay? According to license law, today you are my customer, and these are the following things I can do for you as a customer. This is the document called the buyer's agency agreement or the buyer brokerage agreement. And this describes, it's essentially a loyalty agreement, okay? When you ask me to do stuff for you, I'm gonna do it right away, right? And what you're basically promising is that any property that you want to pursue, regardless if you find it or I find it, regardless if you see it in person or find it online, you will come to me with help to pursue it. This includes resales and new construction. Okay. And any of those properties that you identify or that I identify, I can help you pursue regardless of what it's listed for, what brokerage listed it, or whoever. It doesn't make a difference. So if you find it, I can help you pursue it. I just need you to come to me first. Understand? And now, once this is signed, I can give you my professional opinion, right? I can coach you through the process. I can explain why things are a certain way. And in all honesty, I'm going to be able to protect you better. Okay. Now, and then I would kind of do a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a takeaway close, but I'd kind of go in the opposite direction for a second. And I'd say, look, I don't expect you to sign this right here. You haven't even read it. Okay. So take it home, look at it, study it, determine if you have any questions, and come to me with the questions and we'll iron it all out. Okay. Now, the other thing I would usually throw in there is it's kind of like, first of all, it can be terminated at any point by either of us. So that kind of takes the pressure off of them. But it's also a loyalty agreement. They're basically saying, I will go through you when I want to pursue a property. So I would normally say, look, this is a loyalty agreement. So you've never even seen me in action, right? I wouldn't expect you to sign an agreement to work in tandem if you don't even know how I work, right? If you don't know whether I'm responsive and professional and educated and these kind of things, right? So I expect to earn that privilege. So meaning I'm okay with showing a home or two, right? I'm okay with introducing you to my lender. I'm okay with answering some questions. I'm okay with gathering some information about, like, let's say an HOA or something before they commit to me. Because even if they commit to me and then decide they don't like me, I ain't gonna get paid anyway. Make sense? Any questions on that? Candace, am I talking crazy?
No, I just would add that I like to read the person, and if you understand the disc profile, there are going to be people that are like, like the D people will be like, get it signed, they just want to get it done so they can go see houses. And the S people might need a little bit more detail before they would sign it. I do say the same thing I always say. I want to emphasize to you that this is an agreement. And as an agreement, it can be terminated by either party if we're not a good fit. I've never had that happen. I always say that I've never had that happen, but I want you to know, I don't want you to feel like you have to work with somebody you don't want to work with.
Speak
And,
just a little louder, little
I said,
louder.
yeah, I know, I've got to get, Michael, I will get that stupid speaker, no, that great speaker fixed. But I'll say.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
I know,
Well, you
right?
can't anyway.
Yeah, you need to come in and help me. But I would say, I don't want you to feel like you have to work with anyone that you don't want to work with. Again, I've never had that happen, but I just want you to know that this is a partnership. The other thing that I would say is that if you have the opportunity to do a buyer consultation and not just meet them at the house, that's a great time to present it, and 9 times out of 10 you'll get it signed, because you're showing your professionalism. And the buyer presentation can be as simple as going through the
Little
buyer
louder.
guide. The buyer presentation can be as simple as going through the buyer guide in Command, having that up on your computer and weeding out the pages so that you have the ones that you know are important. And that way you can talk through the process with them and then say, as part of this process, in order to move forward, it's important that we get this agreement signed, and then I go into it's can be terminated at any time. But I have good luck with that. I think the buyer consultation is important for 2 reasons. We can't always do it. Sometimes people are like, I want to meet you at the house, and you just got to go. But if you do have a chance, it's a way to start off your relationship with you as the guide and in control, and a level of professionalism. And it also gives you a chance to feel the person in live, in person, to see if they're motivated or not. So that's all I would add.
Yeah, one thing I would add to that is, you said if you get a chance to do a buyer consultation, that's a choice, right? But if you choose not to do it, you're asking for trouble. There's just so many things involved in the real estate transaction. If you don't help them understand how to be successful and take a couple minutes to do a professional meeting, expectation setting, it's going to be ugly later. I promise you. So even if you can't get them in the office first before you start showing homes, I would say at the end of the first day, you sit them down for a couple minutes in the last house and you tell them what they need to hear. Look here.
Oh, yeah. So just as like one thing I used to do to get contracts signed, like guaranteed, is I would just tell them, hey, I'm going to explain to you the whole process. You're going to be totally confident and know exactly what's going to happen from the beginning to the end. You'll probably be so confident that you could be an agent. And I'll go through the buyer brokerage. That's the first step. And I'll go through every single keyword on there and explain what it means to them. Protected period, due diligence period, earnest money. I would literally explain every part of it and ask them, do you have any questions about this? Once I go through that, they want to sign immediately because they completely understand it. I used to have like 30 agreements signed, at one time. And it wasn't even people that were ready to buy right now, but they felt so confident in knowing exactly what was going to happen, and the fact that I took the time to educate them. And so I would really take like 30 minutes on that document, which is really a long time, but they were very appreciative of being informative. They was like, I feel like I could do real estate now. I'm like, of course. And then I would go through the rest of the steps of what to expect in this process, when I'm probably not going to be speaking to them as much because we've done all of our part. We've done the inspection, we've done, everything else. Now your bank is going to be doing whatever they're doing. And then when I'm probably going to come back in. And so they would be ready to sign right away and get started right away. And I would make the contracts, because some people wouldn't be ready right away. I would make the contracts for like a year long, and no one ever had a problem not signing it.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that is, there's a lot of good nuggets in what you said. I think that it's look, you're going to spend the time at some point explaining the process to them and setting expectations. You can either choose to do it when there's no stress, when you're just beginning the courtship, or you can choose to do it at 9:30 at night when you're already a little frustrated that you missed dinner and everyone's breathing down your neck to get the offer done and they don't know how to deal with the contracts. So you get a choice. You can either explain it to them when there's little to no pressure, and everything is there's no deadlines or anything like that, or you can choose to explain it to them in a panic when everyone's yelling at each other because they want the offer to get it. Make sense?
And I also think, look here, that was excellent that you go. I think it's really important that for the documents that we use in real estate, that I used to take, until I knew it, I used to take a highlighter and I would highlight portions. I would print out a contract, or I would print out a BBA, a buyer agency agreement, and I would highlight areas, and then I would put my verbiage next to it of how I wanted to explain it, so that I didn't have to read legalese to somebody that they wouldn't understand. And I think that's a really good habit to get in, a good habit to start. And then I would carry that with me. I had a little binder that had different pages in it, like the ABCs of agency, and plastic sheets. And I would have those contracts there highlighted with the verbiage, so that I knew how to explain them to somebody in an easy and layman's way.
Yeah, very good point. So the takeaways here, number one, are you absolutely, although it is a choice, like I said before, I 100% suggest a buyer consultation prior to, at the earliest convenient time. Okay. The second thing is, if you're sitting here and you're saying, I don't know the details of a buyer agency agreement, or I don't understand how to explain the purchase and sale agreement or something like that, take one contract that you're unclear about today and read it through at least one time. And if there's something you do not understand, ask us. Okay. And if there's a lot of things you don't understand, watch a video on it. And if you still don't understand something, ask us. Okay. Because there's never been a closing in the history of real estate without having contracts signed. So if you don't understand how to professionally explain these contracts, let's do it now. Fair? Okay. All right. I think that's really helpful. We got a lot of questions lately about agency agreements, so hopefully you guys don't think that we're off topic. Okay. All right. Let's just do a quick little tiny bit of housekeeping. I apologize. I just found out yesterday late at night that the GLG is not going to be holding any classes during Mega Camp. So the skill development class and the Get Leads from Social Media, the assertive prospecting, the high accountability group, and the script group will not meet this week. I am planning to do the Wednesday at 4 o'clock systems class. And I'm almost certain, I'm waiting for final confirmation on this, but I'm pretty sure that Mignon is planning to do her class on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Okay. The schedule is a little light this week. Understand that we're all going to be in Mega Camp and learning a lot. And in the morning huddles, I believe on Wednesday and Thursday, we're just going to do a little recap from what we've all learned. So make sure you're taking great notes. And remember that the platform itself is open for about 60 days after Mega Camp ends. So if you're not able to get to a particular breakout, or you've got to meet an inspector or something like that and can't come, go for as much as you can, and you can catch up with the rest later on. Usually they have the videos and everything up within a day. Any questions on that?
And for our Tuesday one-on-ones, I'll be reaching out to each of you to try and reschedule those to Friday, because they'll be during Mega Camp. Today we're okay because it doesn't start until later this afternoon, but tomorrow we'll reschedule those.
Yeah, same with me. I've got a handful that I'll be reaching out to you guys throughout the week.
Quick
Okay.
question. Can I ask a quick question about
Yeah.
the agenda for Mega Camp? It all still seems to be the same as it was like when it was in person. Like it says things like exhibition hall open and.
Yeah. So if you log into
Is it the same, or is there a different schedule and I'm not looking at the right thing?
So the best thing to do is go ahead and log into the platform itself. And then you can see the agenda there, and like there is like a mock exhibition hall, if you will. And there'll just be a series of links to access all the individual breakouts and all that kind of stuff. So from this point forward, I would just go into the platform itself and navigate yourself around.
Okay, yeah, because I'm so confused looking and there's like 18 breakouts. I'm like, well, I don't even know what these are. So okay,
all those will be accessible just by one click when you're
actually log into the system.
That's right. They should have sent you a thing with the access information.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Okay, so
Is it too late to sign up for Mega Camp?
it is not.
Okay.
It is not. There's a link for it in the email that I sent out yesterday. Okay. All right. One more thing I want to mention about Mega Camp. Okay. Guys, this is a perfect opportunity to expand your reach. Okay. Would you like me to would you like me to issue a suggestion for everyone at MegaCamp? Why don't you take each day and go meet a couple of realtors that live in different parts of the country? Maybe they could become your script practice partners. Maybe you could just introduce yourself and say, hey, you know, I'd like to help you grow your business. Are you interested in receiving any referral lead, out of area referral leads? Of course. Okay, great. Could we be partners, right? A lot of people are coming to St. Louis. A lot of people are coming to Atlanta. Maybe we can help one another out. Would that be okay? See what I'm saying? This is an opportunity in real life where you'd literally have 20,000 agents from all over the world in the same room. Okay, this is the digital version of that. So don't be a silent agent during the week. Okay, take some time to go meet some of your colleagues, because guess what? They've got the same struggles you do, right? Getting buyers to sign buyer agency agreements, dealing with multiple offers, coming soon, technology. Every question is the same. Okay, how do I do a great open house? What's your strategy for Facebook ads, right? It's all the same. Okay, make sense? All right, beautiful. Let's spend a couple minutes going through week 7, and then I'll very, very quickly go through week 8. Okay, so week 7 is market knowledge. Market knowledge. So we used to have my team leader initially, her name was Denise. She's the team leader down at Midtown right now. Amazing woman. And one of the things that she used to say, which I always really took to heart, was, I can see Candace's smile because she worked with Denise as well, right? Awesome. One of the things she used to say is you need to master 3 things. You need to master the contracts, which you've kind of already alluded to today, right? You want to know every little nuance of the contract. What happens if this happens? What happens if this happens? How do I fill it out if I'm working with the buyer? What do I look for if I'm looking for the seller, right? How do I explain it to them? Everything. You better know those contracts cold. Second thing you need to understand is the market. And the third thing you need to understand is what to say. What to say in every situation possible. Make sense? So let's keep it as simple as possible. Do you know what to say? Do you feel like you have a good grip on the market? Do you feel like you have a good grip on the contracts? If not, that should go into your calendar every single day until you feel confident. Make sense? Okay, let me give you some suggestions on how to really, really thoroughly understand the market. Okay, I'm going to take a very calculated approach for this. Let's just say, for example, we want to start in Roswell. Okay, so what I would say is, today, I don't really know much about Roswell. I don't know where the townhomes are. I don't know how much they cost. I don't know where the swim and tennis communities are. I don't know whether that neighborhood's on the east side of Roswell or west side of Roswell. I don't know if it has multiple entrances. I don't know what the places cost. I don't know anything. Okay, so you should take a very calculated approach and say, today, I'm going to study everything $200,000 and below in Roswell. It's probably not much. Okay, so it'll be a quick day. Okay, and you say, what's less than $200,000 in Roswell? There certainly ain't going to be any homes. Okay, so maybe we look at condos and townhomes. There's probably not even any townhomes anymore. Okay, so you say, oh, here's a couple condo communities that you can buy a home for less than $200,000. Let me go and look at the pictures and let me understand where in Roswell these communities are. Okay, next, and maybe go visit some of them. Right? You don't need a buyer to go in and out of property. Just call the seller or call the listing agent and say, hey, it's Bill with Keller Williams. I see your new listing on, blah, blah, blah street. And congratulations. I was hoping I could swing by. I want to take a quick look myself. Would that be okay? Of course. Okay. It's called a preview. Doesn't cost anything. There's no commitment. Sellers shouldn't get upset. Just ask for it. Okay. Now, so you go and you take a look at these properties. That way you know now, what can I get in Roswell for less than 200 grand? Next day, 200 to 300, same thing. Research, what can I get? Where are they? How big are they? What year were they built? Are they on the west side of 400, the east side of 400? What school districts do they feed into? And you go in and out of these properties also and say, oh, okay, now I really understand the market from 200 to 300. Next day, 300 to 400. Next day, 400 to 500. Next day, everything over 500, right? Because the worst thing that could happen is a buyer comes to you and says, hey, I want a new construction 5-bedroom home with finished basement in Roswell and my budget's $325. And you're like, oh, okay, great. Let me go back to my computer. I'll send you all the results. And then you get back to the computer and that hadn't existed in 15 years. Follow what I'm saying? So learn the market, learn it, okay? Even if it's 5 minutes a day, you gotta study the market, okay? You also wanna work in different communities. Okay, let's take Woodstock, let's take Smyrna, let's take Duluth, let's take Dunwoody, whatever it is, approach it just the exact same way. This week, there's gonna be no one that understands the market in Dunwoody better than me, okay? And so I've got a couple of hours identified in my calendar where I will be learning about the Dunwoody market. Okay, I'll drive the streets. I'll see, you know, where are the townhomes, where are the schools, where are the parks? How do I get on the highway? You follow me? Are there parts of this particular city that are, you know, a little rougher? Is there anything that I should be seeing that would help me be a better agent? Okay. Make sense? Okay, that's a great way to learn the market. Okay, the next thing I'm going to comment about real fast is the how to find some of this data. Okay, so if you go to fmls.com, I'm going to try to share my screen really quickly with you. Okay, you guys see my screen?
No, it's still thinking.
Okay, it'll stop thinking in 1 second. How about now?
No.
Still thinking.
Hang tight.
There.
Okay, so if you go to fmls.com, you go to matrix. Okay, we've talked about this a little bit, but my suspicion is that you guys are not studying this every single day. Okay, so FMLS on the primary what do you call it, homepage, as soon as this thing loads, is something that is called Market Watch. See that? Market Watch. So today is Monday, so the stats could be a bit tricky, but let's look at a 7-day search. This is all the 41 areas, Metro Atlanta. Okay, in the last 7 days, and there's no other criteria, it's just all of them. Okay, in the last 7 days, which by the way, you could edit. In the last 7 days, there's been 2,166 new listings taken. If you want to look at what they are, you can just click on that one button. Okay, so there have been 932 properties that have gone under contract, and there's been 2,094 properties that have closed. Okay, so when somebody says, how's the market? You got two choices, basically. You can either say, oh, it's great, and they probably just think that you just perhaps watch the news or are on social media and you see that the market is doing well. A much, much more impressive way of answering that question is to say, oh my gosh, it is so much fun. There are so many buyers, so many sellers, where so many opportunities for buyers, so many opportunities for sellers. I don't know if you'd believe this, but there's been 2,166 new listings, and almost 1,000 of those properties have gone under contract in the last 7 days. Why do you ask? You see what I'm saying? Isn't that a lot more powerful? Okay, so you can go in here and see what homes are price decreasing, price increasing, pending, etc. By the way, active under contract, most realtors do this properly, but some don't. When the property has a due diligence period, you put it active, it goes from active to active under contract. And then of course, when you're in FMLS, it tells you, it asks you how many days are in the due diligence period. So let's say you say 7, then automatically it will change from active under contract to pending at the end of that period. Okay, there are some properties that go straight to pending. So it's probably actually more than 932 homes that have gone under contract. Now that the kind of the stab is, you got to ask yourself, whoa, how many did I take? Right. So 2,166 agents, let's just assume no one took 2 listings, got a piece of business this week. How many did you take? So don't tell me there's not sellers out there. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's one place to get the data. We also have the MMO that is sent out each month from the Chartmasters group, the monthly market overview, and of course we have our quarterly slides. We've done a bunch of videos on MMO and a bunch of videos on Chartmasters. That is good for kind of overall market detail. Okay, but in summer, if somebody's looking to like figure out how much to put down on an offer for a random subdivision, Chartmasters is a little less valuable. Okay, then you just straight need to go to that community and look to see what's going on there. That makes sense?
And Bill, there's one other place that I like to look, and that's in Remine. Do you want to share your screen and go to Remine? Or do you want
Are you in
me to
front of
share-
yours?
I'm in front of mine.
All right, you have the power to share your screen now.
So let's see here. Trying to figure out which one it is.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, let me just, oh, never mind. You're a lot
So
faster at sharing your screen than I am.
So if you go to FMLS and you go to products and just go to Remine, you'll pull up this page. It'll be the very first page. And if you scroll down, there's something called Market Pulse. And I just changed it to last 7 days, but it'll tell you the average price point as well, which I like. It's just a different view of the same thing that's in FMLS.
Oh yeah, let's talk. You see that where it says, don't stop it yet, where it says absorption rate? Y'all see that at the
Yes.
very bottom?
Yep.
19 days. Do y'all know what that means? Okay. Absorption rate means, it's another way, there's another phrase for it too. It's called, why am I drawing a blank on that? I'll think of it in a second. It is basically, if there are no new listings that hit the market, all of the current listings will sell in 19 days, meaning there's 19 days of supply on the market. So if no new listings pop up on the market, we have 2.5 weeks of supply based on how many homes are available and how quickly homes are selling, or how many homes are selling, per month, let's say. Make sense? And an average for what the market would say is a balanced market, right? Neither a strong seller or neither a buyer's market or a seller's market, but something in between, is about 6 to 7 months. And we're talking about 2.5 weeks. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, the other thing, so I also want to make sure that you guys, when those MMO reports come out, you should be studying those like you've never studied anything before. Okay, same thing with Chartmasters. If there's a slide you don't understand, ask us. Okay, that's some very, very valuable data. Make sense? Okay, let me make sure there's no, okay, and let's talk for just a quick moment about pricing strategies. Okay. When you are asked to give your opinion of a property, what you should be thinking to yourself is, what will this property in its current condition need to be listed for based on the photographs that we would take and how it would present itself to the market, right? What would it have to be priced at for a buyer to select it off of the list that it came from, tell their agent they want to go see it, and then take action immediately once they see it and they say, oh my gosh, I can get this home for $450. You see what I'm saying? So it is, Melba would probably disagree with me on this too, but every time I say that, Melissa, you have the biggest smile.
She's just she's a lovely character. She's a special one.
Hopefully she would say the same thing about me. Okay, so I've never been a huge fan, especially in this market, of like doing a like super detailed CMA and making adjustments for exact square footage and exact half bath or full bath and like come up with some number. That's never really been my approach. My approach is, you can't choose from those houses anyway. That's in the past. So the question is what is a rough range that this home should sell for based on the actives, the pendings, and the sales? and I get that range, and then I go onto the market and I see what will this home be competing against when it hits the market, right? So somebody comes to me and says, hey, Bill, you're my guy. We just need to do a month's worth of work at the house, and then we'll go on the market. Say, great. I think it'll probably sell between 3 and 325, but let's connect in a month to see if anything has changed in the marketplace. So we don't want to set a price today to hit the market in a month. The market's going to change. Make sense? If anything, what it will change is it'll change the home it's competing against, the homes that it is competing against. Okay. If you're going into a, so you need to know what type of list it will appear on. So let's say, for example, you are in in an area that is not well known for its schools. Okay. It's a nice way of saying people do not say, I want to live there because the schools are amazing, right? They may want to live there because it's walking distance to the bar or something like that, right? So don't use a search parameter around the schools. Use a radius search, right? If people like, let's say a lot of people like to go to, Northview High School or Pope or Walton High School or, Vanderlyn Elementary School in Dunwoody or something like that, right? So if it's in a home, if it's an area like that, then you should use the school district, because the school district is one of the tightest comparisons. Does that make sense? Candace, do you want to show how to do that? You're on mute.
Okay, so if you let me clear out somehow I have defaults in here. I'm not sure how, but if you want to search a radius, you would just put in, so for instance, yeah, see, it'll pop up. So, and it likes it when it does that. And then I can search on my drop down. Oh, my drop down's on another screen. I can pop in.
Right, so
more.
that's an example of that property's in town, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go on people aren't moving to Midtown because the schools are great. They're moving
Right.
Midtown because there's a lot of cool action down there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So this is a good example of when you would do a radius search.
And I just do a select all and a detached. I've got 188 matches. So now I'm going to start putting in some parameters. I'm going to put in probably, this one's about 1,500 square foot. So I'm going to put in maybe 1,200 to 2,000 to see what comes up. Sorry, 2,000. And that, well, it didn't like that. So
Well, I'd probably do on a home like this. I'm assuming is it a townhome?
no, it's an older home built in the 1920s.
Okay, so I would say maybe like 3 bedrooms plus, 2 baths plus.
Yeah, if I sometimes do that, but since we took that appraisal class, he said he doesn't use bedrooms. That still gives me 34 matches, which is too many. So I'd probably go into my year built because that's going to be a little accurate, 1915 through 1925. Oops,
There's no dash there.
I see that. When I get my new computer, it's also going to have lights on the keys so I can see them.
Right. So what she's showing you is basically we're trying to figure out if a buyer comes to me and says, hey, I want a cute little bungalow in Midtown, right? Send me the available homes, price between 300 and 700 or something. Then you got to pretend, what is the list that this home will likely appear on when it's sent from the buyer's agent to the buyer? Because if the pictures aren't awesome, they're going to go straight to the price. And if the price is not absolutely phenomenal, they're not going to come see it. Right. And then you can't even get it. You're definitely not selling it, but you can't even get any feedback. Make sense? What's that home listed for?
It will be listed. It's in renovation right now. It's listed, but we haven't set the price for it. But I'm thinking 625 to 650.
Yeah. And so down there, there's a lot of variety.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to go down in town and start looking at these bungalows in, Old Fourth Ward and Edgewood and Kirkwood and Reynoldstown and all those areas, it's a lot of work to go research it. There's a $600,000 home next to a shack.
And next to $1 million home or multi-million dollar home.
Right. So you got to say to yourself, hey, if I've got 500,000, what else is available? And will the buyer choose mine or that one? And if you think they'll choose that one, you need a better price or a better presentation.
And I'll just show you that variety. It's in Peachtree Park.
And by the way, I'm not trying to sound arrogant here, but I just need to look at the address and I know almost exactly where it is. Right? So that's what I'm talking about.
You can sort price by just clicking on price. And it'll sort lowest to highest. If I click it again, it'll sort highest to lowest. So see, in this same subdivision, there are homes that are 1 million or 2 million. And in the same subdivision, there are homes that are under 600,000.
Right.
So, so anyway, it's just to get as close as you can.
Okay, so hold on right there. Go back to that for a second, please. Okay, so let's just say the buyer said, hey, Peachtree Park, what's out there? Right? And I've got less than $1 million and I want to be in Peachtree Park. So Candace now has to figure out, based on the quality of that particular home, how new it is, how large it is, et cetera, where on this list does it have to fit? So if she put it at 700, yet a consumer could go and buy something more impressive for 655, she's going to sit on the market for all of eternity. Right? So she needs to determine, okay, should it be 630? It's nicer than 630. Okay, how about 650? Based on all I see here, it's probably higher than 650. How about 675? 675, they're starting to get bigger and more impressive. Okay, your gap is 650 to 675. Let them finish their work and then reevaluate the market. Does that make sense? Just the fact that there is a sale indicates that there is a difference in opinion of value. Does that make sense? So for example, if Candace was going to sell that property, let's say she owns it and she's going to market it for 625. If she sells it to me, in theory, I believe it's worth more than 625 because I'd rather have the house than the money. She believes the opposite. She believes that the house is worth less than 625 because she'd rather have the money than the house. Does that make sense? So that right there shows you that there is a bit of a range of the value. Make sense? Because let's say I have let's say my aunt lives next door and I specifically want to live next to my aunt. I'll probably pay more for that house than anyone else in town. But if I've got no connection to that house and it just feels like a different house, okay, it's just a regular house. I got no emotional tie to it, then I'm just going to pay market value. Does that make sense? Okay, pricing strategies are based on the vast majority of where all these people are searching. They're searching on Redfin, Zillow, an agent's website, these kind of things, right? And they're all bracketed searching. Okay, which means that they're usually searching like 325 and below, 350 and below, 425 and below. If you price a home, or let's say 300 and below, if you price a home at 305, the wrong people are going to see that home. Meaning if somebody is looking, let's say 400 and down, and they see a home for 305 and one for 360, the 305 home is going to be the least updated, the smallest. It's going to be the runt of the litter. Okay. But if you price it at 300 and the guy who can afford just 300 and he looks at 300 and below, it's going to be the biggest and the best and the most updated. You follow what I'm saying? So I've never really been a fan of like $299.9 stuff. We're not selling t-shirts here. Okay. So price it right on the mark, especially on the $25,000 increments. Now, if all the evidence supports that this home should be around 330, or let's say 235 to 240, I think in that situation, it's okay to price it at like 239.9 because it's not like a popular bracket. But as soon as you get to like the 25 and the 50 and the 75 and 100, I'd prefer you be right on the mark. That way it appears on both lists.
I was going to say, there's a lot. I don't know if you've ever taken pricing psychology, but there's a lot that even in millions of dollars, 6.9 million will still look so much better than 7 million. Like it's a mental thing. but there's a huge, like I had a whole course in it, and it was a big deal that even when you're talking about millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars, $5 can make a difference if the numbers are different.
I hear that completely, and I agree with you. I would just be aware that when you're searching online for homes, which is where everyone is searching, it's bracketed pricing,
Right.
right?
I just wondered, like, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think they gave the example of if something's priced right on the nose, like let's say it's at 300,000 or 500,000, that's how overpriced boutiques price. And so mentally, you think they've rounded up. Whereas other things, like even gas is what you pay. I mean, it's a fraction of a penny,
Mhm.
you know, but you see it as 304 instead of it's really 305. But like, you know, it's just different in your head. But
Yeah,
mentally, people think if it's on the nose, it's an overpriced, like boutique kind of, that's the mentality. I don't know. I mean, I haven't been selling houses, so I don't know, but that's just, I thought that kind of played into it somewhat.
What's your take on that, Candace?
I agree that it's bracketed. I think there is a lot of psychology when you go to price a home, and you have to accommodate the ranges that people are looking in. So I tend to just go with round numbers.
Yeah, you could, I hear it. I hear both arguments. In this one, I would probably, in things that you were not searching for the way we search for homes online, I would 100% agree with Ryan.
Yeah. On
the way that people search for homes, I would probably do it slightly differently. It's not to say it doesn't work. Is the home being seen by the person who should be seeing it? That's the overall question. Does that make sense? That's the overall question. You don't want to be off by $10, and that's what causes your home not to be on the appropriate list. Make sense? Okay. Okay, let's just really quickly do week 8. Okay, in week 1, I believe we said, hey, go watch an overview video of commands so you understand all the applets, right? This one is the opportunities. This one is the reporting page. This is smart plans, this is designs, etc. So you have a rough idea of what this process or what this platform can do. Week 8, I think you should now go into a little bit more detail. Now, by the way, by week 8, we have a real good grip on the market. We understand the contracts. We've been practicing our scripts. We have our presentations down. Our database is organized, right? We're in business, right? I mean, we've made some giant leaps. Okay, we know what to say, when to say it. We're practicing. We're reporting. Everything is going great. So by week 8, now we can look to say, hey, is there any technology that can make my life easier here? Okay. I don't believe you need to become an expert on command the first week. There'll be plenty of time for that. First week is for database and learning some basic stuff, okay? So now I think it's a good idea to go in and say, today I'm going to learn about opportunities. So instead of watching an hour-long video on everything command does, let's watch an hour-long video about opportunities, or an hour-long video on smart plans, or an hour-long video on the reporting function and goal setting or whatever. So now we can go into a little bit more detail. My only caveat with respect to command is, let me say smart plans in particular, is I think we have a tendency to say, I met them at an open house, let me put them on a smart plan. I'm not going to tell you that's a bad idea, but don't let that replace the active, assertive, the initiative that you take to go out and secure that client, right? Smart plans, for the most part, are relatively passive. Okay. A phone call, a video text, a door knock, an in-person meeting, a text that says, hey, did you see that one that just came on the market on Smith Street? I'm gonna be in the area today at 3 o'clock. Can I take you there? You want to see it? Right. If you meet them on a Sunday, and maybe you call, maybe you don't, maybe you send a handwritten note, maybe you don't, and then they get an email 3 weeks later from you about like changing the batteries in your smoke alarm, that's not going to secure the client. Make sense? So smart plans are to be used when, in my opinion, when the majority of the relationship has already been created. Okay, take a very assertive, active approach. That would be my preference. Make sense? What questions do we have on all of that today? Anyone? Anyone?
And I just say, for those of you who are new and don't necessarily know the terms opportunities or smart plans, we can go over that. They're just terms that are specific to command and how we categorize people.
Yeah, designs is basically how do you put together all the images for Facebook ads, or flyers, or postcards and that kind of stuff.
Presentations.
Right. Opportunities is essentially the contract management, or the transaction management system, where you have to upload all the contracts and you create all the contracts, and you can do forecasting for how many people are in what stages of the process. And reporting is basically like a CEO summary, more or less. Okay. But every one of those applets on the left-hand column should be learned about, but it's not week one type of stuff. Okay. Okay. Questions, thoughts? Nope. Everyone good? All right. You guys, we are, if I can be real honest with you, we have not been very good at reporting our numbers. We just haven't. So I'm going to ask you we got 1 week left in the month. What I'd like for you to do is catch up on your numbers. Today's the first day of the last week of the month, and then make a commitment this week. Don't tell me on Sunday, oh, it was mega camp, so I couldn't do anything. You've known it's mega camp for weeks. Okay, you should already be ahead of your goal, knowing that you're going to be a little busy this week, right? Today's a great day. There ain't nothing going on at mega camp until like 6 tonight. So today's a full day of work. Okay.
And I'd just like to, well, what I was going to say is that there are coaching programs where you have daily accountability. And what that does is it means you know your numbers every single day. I think in real estate, it's real important that we do that for ourselves, and then you just report them once a week. But make yourself accountable to yourself. And if anybody in this group wants to have an accountability partner, reach out in the PC help group and say you need an accountability partner, and have that daily accountability. It'll move you forward like crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys one thing really fast. I'm trying to do a little project for something else, and I came across this document. This is from 2019, but this is something that we used to have at the office called CTE, Commitment to Excellence. And it basically is, look at this kind of stuff, guys. You are literally tracking every single thing. You've got, this is not filled out really, but you've got forecasting for listings taken, appointments, GCI, net after taxes, exactly what your contacts, listing appointments held, contracts written. You've got a pipeline, you've got team member scorecards, you've got lead sources and ROI analysis. You've got weekly and monthly targets and dashboards. You've got rankings. I mean, you got to ask yourself, guys, let's say that you wanted money for your business and you said, hey, I'm just getting started. I need an investment in my business to, take it to the next level. And they say, okay, show me all your numbers. And you show them a sheet like this. They're gonna be like, oh, wow, this person is all over it. They're organized. They're running a business. Many of us don't even have a database organized the way we should, right? Much less anything resembling this. So this is a good opportunity to have a little gut check for your business, right? Am I running my business like a business? What I'm asking you to report on a weekly basis is peanuts.
And it might be a good time to reach out to Andrew, our new contract to close person, and see if he'll do something specific to help you get your business set up, if that's where you need some help, as many of us do. So he's a detailed guy who can put together things so that you can easily plug in your numbers if you're struggling with that. But that's
yeah.
I think that's a best habit you can get into as a business owner. And so that you have some predictability around your business, and you know that you can actually support yourself or your family or whatever your goals are.
Yeah, hang on. I'm going to show you something really cool.
Oh, and also Aubrey is tonight at Mega Camp. Aubrey is going to be in competition with one other person, and they're going to be doing closes. So if you want to hear masterful scripts, be there tonight. It's going to be fabulous. And I would record it on my phone so that you can go back and listen to what they say, because they're two masters.
You
But
guys
we're
see
rooting
this
for
is from
Aubrey.
like 2016, right? So I've got all my transactions here, sales price, list price, days on the market, the amount of money I paid the office and royalty, referral fees, everything is tracked, right? And you can see things like, how am I performing over my forecasts, right? As areas for daily lead gen, business planning, training center. I mean, you guys just, it's going to happen little by little, but ask yourself, hey, am I running my business like a business? Okay. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.